Good morning and welcome to my show, Fighting CPS and Saving Our Children. It's no secret that it's pretty rampant right now that our children are being stolen by a government entity. My name is Bob Pace. I'm your host. I'm on here 7 days a week or every day of the week, twice a day, once at 10 o'clock in the morning, another time at 7 o'clock at night. So an hour long, and this is a live podcast found on Facebook, shown on YouTube. We're strictly about how to help you when you get involved with a CPS case, which stands for Child Protection Services. It's a branch of social services that's supposed to protect our children from abuse and neglect, and then bring the family back together and um, repair what may or may not happen and so forth. Now, I have a guest from time to time that's on the show, and there's several ways you can interact with the show. One, you can type in a comment at the bottom of your page you're listening to or looking at. It'd be nice if you tell about your case, your allegations, and what children are involved, and if you're in a relationship, and then what is your question or what is your problem with CPS. It's important you put your name, just your first name is fine, and the city or state you're calling from, and if you're from a country, it'd be the country and the city. And that way I get kind of general impression of what is happening around the country. I've talked to over 100 people now in different states and so forth. I've been fighting CPS for 14 years. And my experiences are firsthand experiences. And so we'll talk about those. We'll talk about things that can maybe help you in CPS, your cases, and so forth. So please text me a comment. I like to have this an interactive show. And that's why I said I'd normally have a guest. And so right now I have my office phone open. You can call this 626-698-0990, and you can be a guest on the show right away and talk about your situations with CPS and what the problems are and so forth there. If you're not too sure about talking right now, or this is a bad timing, you can always schedule a time to talk on one of my 14 shows. You would call in 888-888-6582, and when you speak to him, tell him that Bob Pace sent you and that you want to be on one of his shows. You give the morning show or evening show, and it's one of those 7 days a week. Now, on Sunday, I start a little bit late. That's no exception to the rule at 10:30 in the morning, and that's all Pacific Standard Time. And that's because there's another show before me on that Sunday. So, want you very much to be a part of this show, and so please call in 888-888-6582. Also, at this time, this show is being produced by Vincent W. Davis and Associates. It's a law firm that has many different kinds of lawyers for different kind of legal matters. We're dealing in family law. We're dealing with juveniles under the age of 18. We're dealing in dependency court, and we're dealing with that branch of social service, which is the Child Protection Services. And I want to say rule number one in my case is you always should have an attorney. It's like trying to do an open heart surgery on yourself without a doctor. You need a professional. You need someone who's trained and has experience fighting them. We have such an attorney. His name is Vincent W. Davis, and he has fought CPS. He has returned your children. He's won his cases. He's even sued CPS for violating one of your constitutional rights. He's a trial attorney. He's done cases in Southern California, Northern California, and a lot of the states out there. Yeah, he can go to any of the states and be your attorney who will defend you. And as I say, you need a professional. I know that if you wait when your case starts until you have your public defender given to you in hopes that he or she will help defend you, you're going to find a disappointment. You need an attorney right away when CPS comes knocking, because you need to know some things. You need to know whether to sign a safety plan. You need to know whether you allow them to take your children, come into your home and stuff. That was my mistake, is that I did not realize the importance or the complexity or the discrepancies, or lack of transparency, the lies, the deceit that CPS workers do. Like anything, I just thought it's a government agency and it's supposed to protect our children. I have nothing to hide, nothing to say or done. I had false allegations against me and my wife that weren't true, and that's one of the bad aspects of dealing with CPS, is the false allegations. So this attorney that you need to, we have one. In fact, right now he's offering a 30-minute to an hour free consultation to help you with your case, to strategize and to talk about CPS and how to get your children back. It's all free. All you need to do is call in the second office number, 888-888-6582, and say that you want to schedule a free consultation with Mr. Davis at a time that he's available, or a date he's available that works with you. Now, at the bottom of my screen, I got a ticket running that will tell you his calendar. He has a website with a calendar, and it shows when he's available. So you may want to look at that first before calling in. But please call in 888-888-6582. You have nothing to lose. This is a 30-minute to an hour free session on legal advice, on strategies, how to fight CPS, how to get your kids back, and so forth. This attorney cares about families, cares about children, and is passionate about his work. He is a very busy man, and he tries to help everybody. And so schedule that time with him on that. Now, I also want to stress upon you that this will be probably your worstest nightmare you probably have ever encountered. It's very stressful. And if you talk to an attorney before it gets started, there's a lot of things you can prevent. Because waiting for the dependency court hearing and speaking to your public defender, the court-appointed attorney for you, you're going to be disappointed. They're not going to be, really interested in your case. They come on late. They have a case of 20 or more clients, and they're new, and some of them are not very honest. And you may have to go through half a dozen public defenders to find one that works best with you. Also, the chemistry between you and the attorneys. That's why you may go through several public defenders till you find the right one, if that's the route you're going to go. I recommend you get a paid professional attorney. I know it's a lot of money, and money may be a big problem for you. It was with me, and I can understand that. I can relate to that. And taking care of your family is your utmost importance there. You love your family. You want to have your children returned, and it's a hard thing to have your children taken from you. And CPS, my experience, they're very unscrupulous. they will take your children. They took it after 5 years of badgering me with false allegations, and I kept showing them that it's not true and this and thing like that. They finally duped a police officer, a detective, to go to the school where I pick up my son from school and follow me, and then use the trickster where he calls the law enforcement and have me pulled over. And then he insists I go to my home, which I should have said no because he didn't have a court order. See, that's another thing too. Um, you need not to um, allow police or CPS in your home, or even talk to them. They have to have a warrant before they enter your home. It has to be signed by a judge, and specifically says who is being investigated and then what they can search for and so forth. So that's a real important concept in there. That's actually my rule number 3: is you don't talk to police or social workers, and you do not um, let them in your home unless they have a warrant. Now, when the CPS starts on, it's going to be very dramatic. And right away, contact an attorney to ask for his advice on what to do. You need to also uh, get a notebook, and in that notebook, you want to have all the issues that come up during your CPS case. You want to put down the date and time of the incident. You want to tell who the people that are involved, list them, and then you want to know what the incident's about. And then you want to also put on there the final outcome. The reason why you need all this information is that you have to refer to it because this case may go 1, 2, 3 years. Mine was 3 years. And so if you have a notebook, you'll have all your notes, and you'll be able to look back at something 6 months ago and find it, because CPS starts off with the allegations, and then they do the investigation. They try to do a home visit. Then they take your children, and then they have then they have a meeting about where the best to keep your children at. And they try to have you sign a safety plan. You got to be really careful. Again, you talk to your attorney. Basically, do not sign a safety plan. And then you need to gear up, because it's going to get wild. It's going to get hard, and it's terribly hard when you love your children. And a lot of times it's happens because you have a spouse or you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, where there's disagreements, and so it becomes a hostile child situation where they want the children, and they're going to make each other look bad. My experience was very, very rough. It still is with me, and I feel really lost to words, because I've now been 32 years with my wife, and I'm very much at lost about what's happening to us. I want to do my commitment in my marriage of taking care of my family as best as I can. And this interruption in life is really bad. And, that's one of the things is that you have to understand that, when the CPS gets allegations, and these allegations a lot of time are wrong, are not truthful allegations, or false allegations. But you're going to be caught up. Your children are going to be traumatized. You're going to be traumatized, and you're going to be so disappointed the way the system works. When an allegation is made there's two types of people that make allegations: your lay people and your professionals. Now, professionals require by law to report anything they suspect of neglect or abuse to the children. And so there could be a teacher, and the teacher's is in the got her students in class, and if the student exhibits neglect or abuse, such as the form of bruises or burn marks or things that look out of ordinary there, they're required by law to report it, and then the social service has um, 24 hours to investigate it. Now, allegations are treated as if they are really true. Most courts, you do not, you're not guilty until you're proven you're uh, you're not you're innocent till you're proven guilty. You're innocent till you're proven guilty. And being said, you're innocent till proven guilty, but in family law, in family court, dependency court, you're guilty until you're proven innocent. That's the biggest difference. That's one of the biggest hurdles because right away, CPS believes the allegation, which it says is true. And so they're going to investigate, of course, and they have to within 24 hours. And their type of investigation is going to be calling people around you. They're going to be checking at the school. They're going to be doing a lot of things to find out evidence to use against you to go to dependency court to take your children away. It's sad, but the agency I dealt with in Southern California, and my experience was to try to take away my children. I had to battle them for 3 years. And the first couple I had to battle uh, without an attorney. And that's the big, big, big mistake. Now, the second type of a person who reports abuse are your lay people. These are family members. It could be your spouse. It could be your children. They're going to call in and make the allegation, and right away CPS believes they're true, and they're going to investigate. What they're trying to do when they investigate is gather evidence to take your children away. Their goal, the reason why I keep mentioning steal your children, steal your children is what they do because it's a money-making business. It's a billion-dollar business. They make money off taking your children into custody. They get money from the state and from the federal government, and it's a lot of money. And so it's not all for taking care of a child. So it's very, very important with your notebook in hand. That's rule number 2, that you take notes and you take everything that they're trying to do. Don't sign anything. Don't talk to them. Don't let them in your home until you talk to an attorney. And as I say right now, Vincent Davis is offering a 30-minute to an hour free session. So it behooves you to talk to him. You have nothing to lose. Now, the definition of child abuse. A child is defined as anyone under the age of majority. And of course, in most states, the child age of majority is 18 years old. So if they're under 18, Child Protective Service will get involved. And that's true about every state. Now, child abuse and neglect are emotional or physical harms caused to a child. The abuse can be in the form of sexual exploitation or sexual abuse. These types of harm places a child's life at risk and can result in physical injury or even death. And I will say there is a need for CPS because child abuse does happen. I've heard of stories about where parents are so frustrated with a child crying they throw the child against a wall. And it's, your body is so developing and your bones are not so strong that they'll deformed, and it's a horrible experience there. I've heard of things where they torture children to discipline them, put hot water on them, hot coffee on them, and that's wrong. That's wrong. Um, That's what, you know, that's why we have them there. Now, these types of harm places a child at risk, and it can result in physical injury or even death. Also, a child who experiences child abuse or neglect will have mental health in their teens and adult years. So they have this problem. It's going to affect them later in life. Child abuse and neglect happen from the act or omission of a child's parent or caregiver. Okay? And omission is a failure to appropriate act. For example, omissions that can be classified as child abuse or neglect um, include a failure to provide medical treatment. For instance, let's say a child needs medical treatment, and maybe the parents have strong religious beliefs that they let Mother Nature take its course. You have to take a child in to see a doctor, um, because the child will have problems if they're not treated and everything there. Now, each state has a minimum standard for defining child abuse and neglect. So it's very important that you research that. Why? You have to be very proactive with your case because it's going to get worse and worse, and time is going to be not on your side, and you need to find out answers right away. Now, the abusive or neglectful act the preparatory commits or omits can be classified. This will determine whether the abuser will be subject to criminal proceedings, civil proceedings, or both. And each state laws address both criminal and civil liability depending on the acts or omissions of the preparatory and accused, as well as their intent. Now, types of child abuse. There are different forms. There's 5 major types of child abuse and neglect. There's physical abuse happens when a child is proportionally exposed to a risk or harm or injury. Examples of physical abuse include hitting, um, and hold on one minute. We're going to take a pause here. Okay, I'm back again, and sorry for the disruption on that. Um, so, physical abuse, some examples are hitting, shaking, or kicking the child. Exerting force against a child is is also a physical abuse under any state law abuse laws. Sexual abuse. Child sexual abuse is any sexual activity done against a child. Fondling, oral to gentle contact, or sexual intercourse are some examples of sexual contact. Sexual abuse can be through a non physical contact. This includes the child to pornography or sexual activity, filming the child in a lewd manner, a child prostitution or sex trafficking. Now, children are being prostituted in order to sex trafficking. That is the sexual abuse. The third type is emotional abuse. Emotional harm attacks a child's emotional and well being and damages the child's self worth. Verbal assaults against a child are emotional abuse. Other examples include um, belittling, ignoring, rejecting, or isolating the child. Those are all forms of emotional abuse. Now, talk about physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse. The fourth one is medical abuse. Medical abuse happens when someone commits a medical neglect or provides false information about a child's illness. In this case, a child's welfare is a risk. For example, medical abuse, suppose a child ingests a illegal substance brought in the home by the caregiver. Furthermore, suppose that child receives a delay or improper medical care after the caregiver fails to provide truthful information of what the child ingested or the symptoms. Unnecessary medical care due to untruthful reporting of the child's symptoms is also an example of medical abuse. Criminal charges can be issued against the person responsible for such act. So children need to be taken care of right away, and you got to be careful that they don't ingest something that can harm them. The fifth one is neglect. Child neglect occurs when the parent or caregiver of the child fails to provide for the child's basic needs. Neglect can occur to the caregiver's failure to provide the child with health care, shelter, clothing, or adequate food. It also be the failure to provide supervision, affection, education, necessary dental or medical care. Now, those are the five types of neglect and abuse. So it's very important that you educate yourself with the art because you have to see if your case falls in line with that. It's very important to be very, very well knowledgeable um, in that case there. Yes, Rebecca, you can call in. What state are you from, Rebecca? I'd love for you to please call in, okay? Rebecca, you call in 626 698 09990. It's important that you do call in, Rebecca. We have a guest speaker, Rebecca Beckiness, who wants to call in. So we're waiting for her phone call. So these are the allegations and what a CPS is supposed to do. But there's a large part of the puzzle that gets overlooked by CPS, and that is putting the family back together. That the family needs to be together, and it's important that they work on the hiccups the parent may have. If a parent has one of these issues, it can be fixed. And there are parenting classes and programs that CPS does recommend and that you do. So it is important there. Um, so, Rebecca, you can call in 626 698 0990. And I'd love to have you talk on the show there. Um, so these investigations are going on. That's where you need to tell your family and your friends and whatever that CPS is involved. Be honest with them because they're going to contact them and they're going to try to find out. And so, um, if you have a hiccup or a problem, you need to identify that. Again, you need to have an attorney present so you can talk to them about that and see what they do and so forth. Um, so, time is going to go very fast on this because they have 24 hours to investigate and about 45 days to recommend if it goes to dependency court or not. See, their goal is to take their children from you, to put them in either a shelter or into a group home or into foster care so they can start collecting money on that child. It's a money making business. My uh, case in Southern California, it was strictly all about money. It wasn't about how to bring the family back together or um, have the issues worked out or the allegations that were proven wrong and that were false and so forth. Um, Rebecca, did I lose you? Rebecca Beckiness, please call in 626 698 0990. I'll make sure that my phone is okay. Um, let me see here. Yeah, it's all set up to go. It is all set up to go. Okay, I just checked my phone. It's definitely working, and so please call in at 626-698-0990 if you'd like to talk on the show. It's my business line. It's open now. We're about halfway through the show here, and again, I want to remind everybody that if you want to be a guest on the show right now, you can call 626-698-0990. I think Rebecca Becky Ness had said that she wanted to call in, but I haven't heard from her yet. Um, so I'd like to go over that. Rule number one again is to make sure you have an attorney and you see and talk to an attorney. And right now, I'm offering you a free consultation with Mr. Davis for 30 minutes up to an hour that he can sit there and talk about the strategies of fighting CPS and how to navigate through CPS and so forth. You can schedule your time with him at 888-888-6582, and you just schedule a time and a date that will work for you and Mr. Davis. His calendar is on the ticket across the bottom of the screen. It shows a website. You go to that website, it'll tell what days he has open, what days he could meet with you. So make sure you call in the office, tell him that Bob Pace sent you, and that you want that free consultation. And when you talk to Mr. Davis, make sure you tell him that Bob Pace sent you. So it's really, really important there. Now, I guess we still don't have anybody that wants to call in. I know it's hard. I know what you're going through is really, really hard. Okay, I've talked about, that rule number 3, not to talk to a social worker and not talk to the police, and don't want to let your children go. But do not sign. There's things like they're going to start off with a safety plan, which is supposed to be helping it out, but it's a binding thing, and you don't want to do that. They usually want you to sign a safety plan because the evidence they have against you is very weak, and if they don't have strong evidence, they can't take you to dependency court. So it's like a chess game with CPS there. Now, if they do take your children from your home, there will be a meeting shortly after the taking your children. It's called the placement meeting uh, for your children. Now, that's where you want to um, suggest a family member. That's the best way to place you. If your children have to be taken into the custody, it's best to place them with a family member that is safe, that you know, and that you can still see your children, because your visitations are going to change. Eventually, they'll change the visits from an open visit to more of a monitor visit. And it's going to get worse as the case goes on. Mine did. Mine got worse as the case went on. There's no question it was getting worse on it. And some of you asked me, well, can I fight the case myself? I think it's correct. Well, I tried to, and I didn't succeed. No matter if you're a very sensible, savvy person, which I am, and with a college degree, I wrote some beautiful text messages. I was very polite to the director that I met with and his manager things, but it was into one ear, out the other ear. He's more interested in building that Taj Mahal building in Southern California that is a very expensive place than he is concerned about um, helping out the family or being fair, honest, or open. They're very deceitful. They were deceiving me so many times, and I'm still, after 14 years, really disgusted with the CPS, because they're supposed to protect their children from real wrongdoing, from neglect and abuse. Instead, they listen to people that, in my case, it was my wife's family members that were trying to take our children from us. They've been trying to do it since day one, and they're really upset that my wife um, uh, I guess, left them and early on 32 years ago. Um, because they've been trying forever to get our children, and so they found out through CPS that's the way they get them. Anyway, when it does happen, you got to stay calm and collect. When you're trying to go over a plan that tells pretty much that tells you pretty much what they're going to do with your children and you and so forth. And they use that because there's maybe a lack of evidence to bring your case before a dependency trial. And what they want to do is keep your children indefinite into custody. Their ideal wish is to adopt your children. And if they're in foster care, they'll collect money until the child turns 18. And it's just to feed their things. As I mentioned, I tried to do it myself. I tried to write professionally emails and professional requests, but it was completely ignored. All my stuff was completely ignored. There was no question that it was the sole purpose of them to make money. It really is. Um, Let me see here. There's always that question comes up: can you get a CPS closed fast? No, I never heard if you can. Um, this investigation that CPS is doing aims to establish whether a child has experienced harm or is a risk of experiencing harm. That's the whole part of the investigation. Now, CPS, you have to understand, are not well educated. They don't have a license. They don't have a certificate to do the work that they're doing. And in fact, um, they don't even have a mentoring program where one social worker is new and you're going to have to follow the other social worker and see what they do involving case. Right away, our social worker was very young, very naive, and put it into her hands and destroyed her family. She lied on the stand when she was being cross-examined, and it was really, really bad. All she was interested in was the money that she got to buy things. She'd show me her Gucci purse, her makeup, her eyelashes. So many of these things she got uh, a quick fix from um, quick fix from having the case um, being deceived and tricked. What I mean by that is that um, there is no shortcut. There's no quick fix. There really isn't. Now, state laws constitute abuse or neglect, and you need to know the state laws. Now, um, the caseworker will look into the mental health, medical records, and criminal charges of your child and the alleged abusers. So they will use your past to haunt you. So if the caseworker sees a history of substance abuse, they will supposedly think you're doing drugs again. They will assess if there's enough evidence to conclude the child suffered neglect or abuse. And then, of course, CPS needs to intervene and ensure the child's well-being. If it's true, then yes. But a lot of times there's the false allegations, or because you're homeless, you're out of money, or so forth. So, um, when they develop this uh, meeting, this place with your child, there's something really important to all you Native American Indians out there with children. There's something called ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1979, and our American Indians are the first immigrants to this country, and they've suffered a long road of things the last 100 to 150 years of being destroyed as a people. Well, what was happening was CPS was getting more children of Indian children into the custody, into foster care, and they weren't being taken care of or reporting the incident. So um, this act that was passed forces CPS to investigate if the children are identified as Indian blood. So if you are Indian blood or have Indian blood, you need to tell a social worker. They will contact the tribe and find out if you're registered or not registered. Um, so, or it could be registered. And if you are in those cases, then what happens is CPS will turn the children over to the tribe, and the tribe will get your child back. Now, the tribe is a little bit easier to work with than CPS. They're not in there for making money. So this act protects them of 79. So um, it's really important that you Native American Indians know this so that your children don't get caught up in being stolen or abducted into foster care. That is a real important thing. That's why the act was passed. So look at the Indian Welfare Child Act of 1979, and it'll tell you that um, what it is and so forth. Now, after their investigation, which lasts about 45 days, the caseworker will assess if enough evidence exists to conclude the child suffered neglect or abuse. Now, they have this thing they call the safety plan, and they will pressure you to sign it. It includes parenting classes, taking drug tests, and getting help with any drug related problem. But if the child is in immediate danger or if you don't cooperate, the Child Protection Service worker may speak to the county attorney and have a petition filed in court. The petition may ask the court for temporary custody of the child, placement of the child in foster care, and order requiring the parent to participate in a safety plan. So, if you talk to an attorney ahead of time, then you follow your attorney's advice. It follows ahead. Now, in most instances, CPS will send you a letter to inform you that they've closed the case. Our case was closed in 2017, but I never received a letter from CPS as the case is closed. And they're supposed to do that um, um, within 90 days after the investigation. Now, it's very important you keep track of all your correspondence with CPS. Save all your documents. One way to get all your documents or check to have all your documents is go to the court clerk office and ask for those documents. If you don't have the money and you're low income, you can get them free, copies of all that. But you need copies of all the paperwork, and you should arrange it in date, and so you know what they are, and you can put tabs and so forth to make it accessible. So now you do have access to the records, except you don't have access to the allegations. And so, um, you know, uh, uh, that part is kept closed. In fact, I think allegations should be made in writing and signed and turned in that way. That way, it'd be a lot of false allegations not made because people are really easy to hide behind a phone. So, like that. So, if a CPS knocks on your door, you may ask for a court order before answering questions. So that's what I try to tell you is you don't speak to them and so forth. Um, Now, they can talk to your children without your permission. And that's one thing you need to educate your children. When strangers try to talk to them, do not talk to them. And even if they're policemen or CPS, you need to educate your children because they can say something that can be taken out of context. And so, everything like that. I thought being cooperative with CPS social workers and enforcement agencies um, uh, would be uh, showing good cause, but instead it backfired and got worse for me. Okay. Um, Now, supposedly CPS don't want to separate the children from their parents, but when they are duped into making money, I think that part got lost somehow about that. Now, when the court's getting involved in your children, that's where it gets more complicated. They will order the parent to cooperate on the case plan with social parents. They'll order the alleged abuser to leave the home. They'll order the child to be removed and placed with foster care or another relative. And they'll appoint a guardian, um, attorney for the child. And the order is to pay child support and dismiss the petition. So there's always the question, can CPS cases be dismissed? Only the judge can dismiss a CPS case if it's determined CPS provided evidence to substantiate the allegations. So, if no evidence is submitted, yes, it can be dropped there. So, and the way you fight a CPS case is with the attorney, and you have to know the state laws. You have to know how to navigate through the social workers and so forth. So I cannot emphasize the importance of of um, of knowing and having knowledge, and that's what an attorney can do. That's what can do that there. Rebecca Beckiness, I still haven't heard from you. Appreciate if you would call me at 626-698-0990. And the rest of you, you can also call in or any text messages or anything on that nature there. My case was a horrible case. It was like a storm was brewing, and you heard the movie called The Perfect Storm. Well, I had the perfect storm. Mine started in 2007 um, when the banks collapsed. And why the banks collapsed? They were giving out too many predatory loans that were doctored. The person did not qualify, and they bumped up their income. They changed the documents. I had one of those. I did not know that. And suddenly I was misled into a beautiful home, but I had two mortgages on it for the beautiful home, and I had over $1 million in debt there. That's wrong to have that much money there, even though I made a good salary. That was wrong, and I wanted to provide for my family something nice. And sometimes I look back and say I should have stayed at my last home. It had its faults and so forth, but also they giving out what's called a predatory loan, and um, that was going on. Also, my retirement was cut in half because after working 40 years, where it's being invested, got a big hit. So, okay, Rebecca, you can call in. There's 10 minutes left if you like to talk. I'll let you call in there, Rebecca. I got a thumbs up that you're listening. So, I had two things in. I had predatory loan, had loss of my employment settings. Oh, here it is. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, is this Rebecca?
Yep.
Great. Glad you call in. Can you tell me what city and state you're calling from?
I'm in Covina, California. But
Wow.
I mean, I've never stopped thinking about the case, obviously. My kid. But
Wow.
I was just doing some digging on the social worker and SCSW name. I sent it to your inbox. Did you see that?
Not yet. Not yet. I will have to look at it.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
so what is it you found about the social worker?
So the SCSW does not work there. Never has worked there. But I found her at another company nearby, and she's not an LCSW. She's just a caseworker.
Okay, let me explain to people out there what an LLC is. That is a licensed one who does take uh, classes and so forth. But are you saying that the social worker that investigated your case uh, did not work at the uh, Orange County CPS?
She just made up a supervisor's name.
Oh, so you found that out. Well,
Yeah,
finding it out eight
I
years
sent you
later, I
the.
mean, they do. They, for
Yeah.
all you listeners out there, CPS is notorious for deception and for lying
Uh-huh.
and for not being transparent. And so, what Rebecca is saying is that the supervisor that her social worker gave uh, does not even work there. She gave a false name. Were you able to talk to the supervisor or not?
No, but I spoke with the HR department where she works,
Yeah, the human resource
and she gave
department.
me more
Okay.
than enough info.
I'm sorry. What are you saying?
I spoke with the HR department of the place she works at, the supervisor,
Oh, okay.
supposed supervisor,
Yeah.
and she gave me quite a bit of info. I sent you that recording to your inbox,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
if
What
you want to, when
what
you
you
have
want to
time.
do? That is great that you should investigate. You could
Yeah,
file a
look into
civil
the case.
lawsuit, but you'll need an attorney to do so if there's something that was your constitutional rights are violated. It's really important that a lawsuit is made on laws. You can't really do a lawsuit against someone because you were treated bad or that you were falsely. I mean, it's got to be based on facts and laws. And so
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like 8 years later, and you just found this out now, or did your case last for 8 years, or what happened?
I keep finding out little things here and there,
Right.
just by looking at the case a little bit
Now, what was your
differently.
what was your original allegations?
Absence, incapacity. I was incarcerated,
No, I mean, okay.
and I gave birth to my daughter.
So why were you incapacitated? What do you mean incapacitated?
I was in custody. I got arrested at 8 months pregnant, and I gave birth while I was in custody. Um, and they placed my daughter directly into an adoptive home without
Foster
doing a
care.
due diligence search for a relative.
So you were incarcerated, and what was the accusations of why you were incarcerated?
I was the charges were transportation, and those charges were actually dropped.
So you were in prison though. So you went before a court.
County.
I'm sorry, say again.
It was a county jail,
Well,
not prison.
okay. So you're put in a county jail for charges that the court found you guilty. And now you're saying
Not
that
guilty.
you found not guilty.
Right.
So why were you put in county jail?
Well, when you get arrested, initially they automatically take you to jail, and you have to fight your case usually from inside the jail. That's how the court system works.
They don't have a bond. You don't. They don't no longer have a bail bond.
I could have bonded out, but I didn't have. I mean, I didn't have money to.
Okay, and you had no family members that wanted to step in to help you.
I don't think anyone knew what was going on.
Wow, your family didn't worry about where you're at.
Oh, well, I'm sure they. Yes, my mom was. Um, And my mom did try to bring my daughter home, but the social worker said that um, she wanted to do a home check, and my mom said she had to go get a crib and prepare. I mean, you don't just drop a baby on somebody like that.
Right, right,
And
right.
let me get ready first. And
What
he
about the
never
what
touched
about the father of the
me again.
child? Where was the father of the child when all this was going on?
I still don't. I'm not sure who the father was.
Okay, so you don't know who the father was. Wow. Wow. Your story is really heartbreaking because you're how old were you at the time when you got pregnant?
26.
26 years old. So you don't know who the father was. You
Well, I mean, the social worker later in the case, when I got out of the got out of custody, she asked me to make a list of the men that I slept with in 2015. So I did, and she made me sound like I was a slut.
yeah, I it's hard. It really is hard because we are so judgmental on things, and
Yeah,
you can't be much
she
of a
put that
slut
in my
because you
life.
didn't do abortion. Why did you not do abortion?
Huh?
Why did you have the child? Is what I'm getting at.
Because I wanted her.
Exactly, and not only that, a slut wouldn't do that. A slut would get an abortion, so you're in a slut. Okay, you may have
And
been a
she's my
young
first and only kid. A slut doesn't have just one kid, right?
right, and
I
you probably were misguided in your thoughts or dealing with men. I mean, there's the pleasure part of the experience, but there's also the responsible part of experience sometimes having children. And you wanted to be a mother and you wanted to raise that child as best you can. And so I'm sorry to hear that. So it's taken you, what, 8 years to, have you called in about this before? Or?
Yeah, we spoke about a week ago, I think.
Okay, okay, okay. So, um, so now, um, yeah. Do you have a job and a place to live and everything?
Yes, I have my own apartment in Covina, and I'm a barber. Um, and I've also picked up a new trade of I'm a caregiver now for elder care. Um,
That takes a
it's
special
not.
person to want to take care of the elders. I mean, you know, you've made something of yourself. You're definitely not a slut, and you're not. They will try to depict you on that. So, um,
Yeah, I
I've
know those things don't. I know they're not true,
yeah, I know that,
but
but
nobody
it's
can
it's it's
affect
hard
me.
because
But
you're a single woman and you're trying to make ends meet and stuff, and you miss your daughter. So, is your daughter? You have any touch with your daughter in foster care?
no, she was adopted after 2 years. Um, um, well, 2.5 years. Um, me and my mom came into the case kind of late, but only by like 6 months, 4 or 5 months, I would say.
Okay.
Um, and my mom voiced that she wanted to adopt my daughter and wanted placement. And they did the background, the fingerprints, and the home check, and they never placed my daughter with a relative.
Right. You know what,
They
Rebecca? I don't mean to cut
yeah.
this kind of short, but my time is
Oh
up,
yeah.
and I have to
No, that's
end the
okay.
show. But it doesn't mean I don't want you to call back. You can call back tonight, and we can talk about it further. And maybe there's some things we can help or send you in that direction.
Okay.
Um, but you know, um, I'm sorry
I
that
tried calling Attorney Vincent. If you can have him give me a call, if you can get a hold of him.
did he not return. Did he not? Did you set up
They
an
want me to.
appointment?
They want me to speak with a caseworker there. but I'd rather just go.
Okay. I will text Mr.
Okay.
Davis
Thanks,
and do that.
Okay,
Please call back in, and thank you for calling. Okay, to all my listeners here, we ran the show over a little bit late, but I want you to still fight for your kids. Again, we have a family law attorney, Mr. Davis, at 888-888-6582, and he's offering a free consultation of 30 minutes up to an hour. And so um, I want everybody to keep fighting for their children. Good luck, and I'll see you the next time. Good luck in the new year. My success and happiness. God bless you. And this is Bob Pace signing off.